Details are now coming to light about a bitter dispute between local funeral homes and the Technical Standards and Safety Authority. Over the last year or so, the T.S.S.A. has been shutting down funeral home freight elevators and lifts across the province. It comes after a funeral director in Toronto died in 2017. But the Thunder Bay operators are now facing huge expenses and aren't happy with how it's being handled. Mitchell Ringos reports.
Under the T.S.S.A. recent directive, whenever they find an uncertified elevating device at a funeral home, they remove it from service. Spokesperson Alexandra Campbell says people didn't realize how unsafe these lifts for moving bodies and caskets can be until a Toronto funeral director fell down a shaft and died 4 years ago.
That investigation did bring it to our attention that unfortunately there are a number of funeral homes that had similar types of lifting devices, primarily to move caskets around, but workers are interacting with those, and there's patrons in funeral homes. There's little children often in funeral homes that are running around.
Everest Funeral Home President John-Bryan Gardiner says they have a lift at their Waverley Chapel that worked just fine since the 1950s. But earlier this year, a T.S.S.A. inspector showed up and instantly shut it down without even seeing how it worked. He was then told they had to install a T.S.S.A.-approved elevator at a very high cost. So for the last 6 months, Everest staff have been moving caskets up and down the stairs by hand. Gardiner still wants to find a workable solution, but their options are limited.
We have operated safely for all these years, and we want to continue to do so. Just we cannot justify or afford the cost of what would effectively be a hospital-type elevator just to go from floor to floor with caskets and flowers. Understand, this isn't about moving people. It's about moving caskets, bodies, flowers, this kind of thing.
The Sargent and Son and the Blake funeral chapels were also told to shut down their lifts. And now the basement at Blake's is no longer usable because of the narrow stairs. GM Greg Sargent says luckily for their newer chapel, the T.S.S.A. gave them the option of raising the base of the elevator up 2 feet, making it acceptable. But he's upset they continue to have communication problems with T.S.S.A.
They never gave us an option. They just shut us down, and then they didn't offer any solutions for us either. We constantly emailed back to them asking things we could do that to get them back up and running, and the only thing they did to us is said, the guy laughed and said, here's a business card for an elevator company. You can talk to them, you need a new elevator, is basically what he said. But it's not an elevator, it's a lift.
The T.S.S.A. stands firm on their decision to close the lifts and will still lay fines if the businesses install new lifts that aren't approved and up to their standards. Mitchell Ringos, TBT News.